Why is the wine gone? Do you want a little bit of this? Because I spilled it. No, it's okay because I spilled mine. I deserve it.
You want to punish yourself? No, you bought the wine.
I deserve it.
You're like Dobby.
I deserve it. So stupid.
Well, that was the intro, guys. We started this pod spilling wine.
Just sponsor us, Dawn Power Wash.
We put regular Dawn. Honestly, I feel like the red is kind of fading.
It is. But I'm telling you that Dawn Power Wash.
It's great.
That's
the bubbles.
Where it's at.
It's all bubbly.
It's where it's at, man.
It foams up and it
if you're sleeping on it, don't be sleeping on it. Go get some.
I'm down. Like, I feel like Dawn, I stand by that company.
I stand by that company too because it is safe for animals.
Unless they did something bad that we don't know about.
Yeah,
in which case, never mind.
You know who did something bad that we do know about?
That we just found out.
That we didn't
expect.
Lizzo. I'm so mad at Lizzo.
I'm sad. Like, I don't know if it's real, like, yet. It sounds like you have done more research on it. I've just seen the headlines.
Okay, I did read into it. It seems pretty real. It seems like maybe Lizzo is full of shit. And that makes me sad because I really liked Lizzo a lot.
I mean, it's like Ellen. I wanted to like her too.
Yeah, I mean, some of these people are just full of shit.
I feel like it's cancel season right now. There's like a YouTuber that I have like seen for a long time that's getting canceled right now too. Her name's Colleen Ballinger.
Oh, Miranda.
Something. Yeah.
Miranda sings. Yeah. Well, she sucks, honestly.
Yeah, I never really liked her stuff, but she was just a very, like, adjacent to what I was watching at that time.
Like, her apology video, if you even want to call it that. Oh, my God. She plays, like, the ukulele, and she's like...
No.
Yeah, she sings the whole time, and it's, like, not
Does she do it as Miranda or as herself?
No, as herself, and she's just, like, talking about how... I forget. It's like cancel culture and like how she made a mistake or I don't know. It was not good. Whatever it was. I like couldn't watch it.
YouTubers that got canceled, Jenna Marbles is the only one that did it right, and she left the platform, which is really sad.
You know what? I still stand Jenna Marbles
because
she really did do it right.
She owned up to her shit.
She's
did. Like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. That was stupid.
That was dumb.
Yeah.
Like,
and then she's like, I'm gonna get the fuck off of YouTube now.
Yeah, and she did.
Yeah.
So,
but Lizzo, she's getting accused of like sexual harassment in the workplace.
Yeah, and unsafe work conditions, like making her dancers dance for 12 hours straight, like practice for 12 hours straight or something crazy.
But I feel like that is kind of normal in that field.
It is, but I think coupled with like her also body shaming them, which was a thing. And her choreographer or like whoever it is that works with her was like pushing her religion on them, yet they would go to strip clubs and...
Was the choreographer a male?
No.
Oh.
And she would preach about not having premarital sex and like just weird shit. So, I mean, if all of this is true, which I do want to hear Lizzo's side about it.
Yeah, I mean, we have to hear her side.
And, you know, we need to see how it holds up in court. Like, let's be fair. If this is true.
Yeah, if this is true about
then
Lizzo.
Fuck Lizzo.
Yeah.
Even though I love her and I've been a Lizzo stan, my boyfriend doesn't like her.
Why
does I stand up, I don't know, but he just does not like her, and I stand up for her all the time, and I'm going to have to take a step down and say I was wrong.
I feel like it's being... Like, I feel like Beyonce probably does the same thing with her dancers. But, like, because Lizzo is, like, of woke culture, it gets, like, you know, bigger in the media. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, like, she's speaking out for, like...
And so it seems hypocritical.
Yeah.
But...
she also... I don't know if you remember...
lyrics of the song.
Rumors.
Yeah.
Do you remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
She has this line in Rumors that says, had to cut some hoes loose, yeah. NDA, no loose lips. Now them hoes trying to sue me. Bitch, I don't give two shits.
Oh.
So that was.
Oh, so she
knew this was coming.
When was that song released?
It was a while ago. It was like a year ago, maybe, or more. It was the summer of last year. Like,
wow, I don't like that lyrics. That's not a body positive. It's not. Most of her stuff's pretty positive.
Now them hoes trying to sue me, bitch. I don't give two shits. Like, you should give two shits because your reputation's about to go down the drain.
Yeah, we don't want that.
I mean, if she's guilty though, like, fuck her.
But what if she really apologizes and like?
No, that's ridiculous. No, that's crazy. That's honestly crazy to me because of what she stands for.
Yeah.
If she was just a normal, like, YouTube, like, not about, like, I don't know, just a normal fucking person, not about body positivity, not about kindness, not about you belong. And
I guess I just need to see, like, specifics, though. Like, what did she say?
So she took them to a strip club.
Yeah.
And, like...
The choreographer.
Yeah. Or no, the Lizzo.
Oh.
Took the girls to a strip club and, like, pressured them into touching the girls' boobs. And then she invited him to something that was a strip cabaret show, but didn't tell them that it was a strip cabaret show. And then she made them, like, eat, like, something about, like, eating a banana out of someone's crotch. I don't even know. Yeah. So,
it sounds like she was just partying and, like, overstepped her boundaries, though, a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe
she thought these girls were, like, more open to that kind of stuff, but they're not. So it's like, you have to remember you're working with a bunch of different type of people.
This is still, like, work.
Yeah, and you can't be taking people to nudie bars without their knowledge and then, like, suggesting that they touch the boobs. And I don't know. I read more about it than you, but I still don't feel like I know everything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, of course, nobody does until like more information gets released.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's fair to, like, hear her side and also see how it plays out in court.
For sure.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
We'll see what she says.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's spoken about it at all.
She has not.
Like, her Instagram is just nothing?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
The choreographer spoke about it, and she didn't really, but she was like, God is so good, like, just speaking about God and how she just came back from this tour and how no matter what's going on, like, God loves you so much, and, like, people think it's, like, she's trying to just be extra because of what's going on.
Right. Like, I'm a Christian woman. Yeah. I'm never doing anything bad.
Yeah. Like, I live for God. Like, okay.
Yeah, I do feel like sometimes people use their religion to mask their poor personalities or, like, general do badness.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, this episode, like, relating to women.
Yeah, women. Speaking of women
and things and emotions.
We're going to be talking about everything period related, menstrual cycles.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, I mean, I think nowadays it does get talked about more, but I feel like
a lot of people don't know exactly what happens.
Yeah, I had to explain to a full-grown woman at my job what ovulation was.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like it's really important for women to know what's happening in their body, why it's happening, and just, like, ways to deal with it.
I feel like a lot of people don't. Yeah, it's not, like, common. Like, everybody knows what the period is, or at least, like, that it's blood coming out of your vagina.
Yeah.
But they don't know what's going on
inside
the body and what's going on with your hormones and
and even now I feel like I know a lot because I'm just naturally interested in this stuff and I've looked it up before, but just researching for this episode I feel like I've learned more than I knew. Which
same.
I was surprised.
And I'm like, there's more that I want to know.
Yeah this might be a 2-parter.
It could be
because there's a lot.
Guys, let us know if you want us to do a second part to this one after you're done listening. It reminded me when you said that you had to explain ovulation to your coworker. It reminded me of the first time that I don't know if it was the first time I heard the word ovulation, but it was the first time that I, like, heard it in a context where I didn't know how to respond because I wasn't sure what the word meant.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't sure exactly. And it was, like, right after I had sex with this guy, and he was like, he saw that it was like white. I don't know if I want to include this. I'm like remembering how
your discharge does get like white and thicker when you're ovulating.
Yeah, and he was like, "You're ovulating."
How did he know and you didn't know?
I don't know, man. He's like one of those like feminist guys.
Shout out to that guy.
Yeah, but like not shout out to him. It's like one of those people that's like, I'm a feminist.
Was he
and I
mansplaining?
study. It's like, no, like just the kind of person that really studies that shit, but is kind of like a douchey person at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like they're like almost studying it so that they can get girls. I don't know.
Oh yeah. So like, they're pandering.
Yeah.
They're pandering to the women.
I don't really know. I can't say that was their motive or whatever. But like anyway, they were like, you're ovulating, and I had to like think. I think I connected the dots, but when I first heard the word, I had to think about it. Like, ovulating, what's that? But yeah, I think I connect the dots because like ovule, like I don't know, you think like egg.
I hadn't. I mean, I'm sure I had heard about ovulation, but it was a while before I like knew what that meant.
Yeah,
for sure. Because
I think I was like 26 or 25.
I was like, wait, yeah, I was like 25. I was like, wait.
I'm Kirsten.
And I'm Allie.
And you're listening to Thank You So Much. Thank you so much for menstruation.
So, I'm happy you asked, Kirsten. What is a menstrual cycle? Why do we have one?
That's what I'd like to know.
Well, every month. So your body prepares for pregnancy. Our only job on this planet is to reproduce.
Oh.
So that's all the animals want to reproduce. Everybody's worried about reproducing. That's what we're here to do. Whether you want to or not, that's like biologically what we're supposed to do. So every month your body is like ready to get pregnant.
It's like, okay.
It's like, all right,
that's what I'm supposed to do.
Let's get pregnant. And then your hormones send a signal to your uterus and tells it to shed its lining. So this becomes your period. So your period is basically, for those of you who have uteruses, your period is basically part blood, part tissue from inside your uterus, just shedding because your body doesn't need it anymore.
Yeah. And it's supposed to protect the egg or like kind of hold the egg.
Yeah. So the whole reason for getting a thicker lining of your uterus is so that it can catch the egg that's coming down from your fallopian tube, which we'll go into later. But it gets thicker so that it can catch it. And then once there's no egg and it's like, oh, there's actually no egg here, I don't need this anymore, and it just comes out of our bodies. Normally, your first period starts around 12 to 13, but it can start as early as 9 or as late as 16.
When did you start your first period?
I was 13. I was in 7th grade.
That's a pretty average.
Yeah.
Average age.
I had a friend who didn't start till 16, and we were like, are you okay? Yeah. Like, damn, must be nice.
I think I was 13 or 12.
Well, you stop your period as late as 60, but sometimes it can start in your early 50s, which is called menopause.
In case you didn't
know. So from, 12 to sometimes 60, you're just bleeding every month. But yeah, so that's kind of what happens, just on a basic level.
Okay. And then we have different cycles.
We do.
I've seen some sources cite that there's 3 cycles and some cite that there's 4.
Before we go any further, what was starting your period like?
Oh, mine. Okay. So I was 12 or 13. I can't remember now. And I think, like, I had a lot of friends that had started theirs already, so I knew kind of what to expect, and, like, we learn about it in health class. So I knew what was coming. Yeah, I started my period, and I used pads, and then I didn't have another one for 6 months.
You didn't have another period for 6 months after you started?
Yeah.
And I remember, were you confused? You were like, what the fuck is going on?
I was like, what's happening? Like, it was like, my mom is so awkward the way she was asking me, or at the time it felt so awkward. She was like, do you need any more supplies for your period? Because she knew I was like on my period now. Like I needed it every month, and I was like, no, I haven't had it.
Like,
and like I'm surprised that my mom wasn't concerned that I just like wasn't having a period. But it's really weird, right? Like I didn't have another one for it was like I had my first period and then nothing for 6 months, and then I started having like regular periods.
That's probably pretty normal. I feel like your body is just starting to have one, so maybe it's like
it's figuring it
out.
Yeah,
it's like, well, that was fun, but let's wait. I don't know.
Well, that's the other thing is I remember looking it up online and not finding anything, and I still to this day don't really find anything about it and about that happening to other women. But I think the problem is like nobody's talking about it or doing research about it.
Yeah.
Because periods are often irregular.
Yeah, they are, especially when you're young.
Yeah. And it's not like, I don't know.
I don't think it's a cause of concern.
Right. When you look up online, it's like always a cause of concern if your periods are irregular, but
it's very normal.
A lot of people have, a lot of people, it's not 28 days.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why wouldn't it be a normal cycled period too. I mean, like hormones and PCOS, endometriosis, like any of that stuff can throw it off too. But it sounds like you were just young and your body was just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
How about you? How was your first period?
I remember I started in 7th grade and I knew it was coming too. I just knew, like, because some of my friends had started and I was kind of waiting for it, and it happened in the bathroom. And I was so stressed out about it because I didn't have any type of pad or tampon or anything. And I went to my history teacher. I had history that class.
A man or a woman?
A woman. And I loved her. She was actually a really good teacher. And I was like, Miss Halkias, that was her name. Miss Halkias, I just started my period. And she was like, oh, honey, like go to the counselor's office. They probably have something for you. And I was like, okay.
You didn't have a school nurse?
We did, but I don't know. For some reason, she told me to go to this.
The counselor?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember this counselor was like mean. She wasn't very nice. And I was like, okay. And I was like crying. And I went to that lady and I was like, I just started my period. And she was like, so?
What? She said so, dude?
She's like, so what do you want me to do about it?
What the fuck?
And I don't think she understood that it was like my first time.
Yeah.
But I was like, I need a pad. And she was like, okay. And she like gets me a pad. And then I just like put it in and go back to history class. But I remember I did not wear tampons until I was in my 20s because I just like the thought of like shoving it up into my vagina. I was like,
scary.
I don't want to do that. So I was wearing pads for a long time.
So you never even tried until
I did try, but I must have been doing it wrong because it hurt. Every time I put it up, I could feel it and I would like walk with it in and it felt like it was coming out, and I feel like I just didn't put it up there far enough. Yeah. So I just pretty much gave up on tampons.
I used to think they're not for me. Like went in the lips. Like
yeah, not, like, I think that's what my problem was because I would put it like too far frontwards and then too far, like not enough up. Oh. So I could feel it.
Were you reading the instructions in the box?
No, I don't think so. I never do that. So probably not.
Oh, I was like getting in there. Like I like opened up the pamphlet and like I remember like reading the instructions, and I had my friend on the phone like coaching me. Like when I used a tampon for the first time. Yeah.
My friends tried to coach me and my mom just never wore tampons, but I don't know, like for some reason I just really didn't like them. So I just never fucked with them after that. And then I put one in for the first time, like actually the right way, when I was like 23.
Well, probably because you'd had sex.
Yes.
And so you know like what's supposed to.
Yes. I was
like what's up there? What's
it's like
going
something
on?
Like a light bulb went off and I was like, oh. The penis goes here, so that must mean the tampon goes here. There's a place for it. And my mom was like dead already, so I remember like when that happened, I was like, I wish I could tell my mom I successfully put a tampon in.
Oh, yeah, that is like something like a mother-daughter conversation.
Yeah.
I have a weird story about tampons, which I don't even know if I want to include in the podcast, but we'll see if we do. I would like have like a 50% success rate with tampons. Like sometimes it would go in, and then sometimes like when I would try to take it out, I like couldn't get it out. Like it would not come out.
That's scary.
And I remember like pulling it out once and then like seeing like a piece of skin. And then I asked my mom, I'm like, I think there's something wrong with me. Like I think I have something I'm not supposed to have. And then like I took like a bath and we finally got it out. And then I went to the doctor and I indeed had like an extra piece of tissue on my hymen. Like my hymen was like partially connected.
Oh shit.
Like almost like, you know how your hymen is supposed to be just like a small piece on top, but it was like there was like a line connecting the top to the bottom.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and like yeah, not two vaginal openings, but like two open. You know what I mean? Like almost. Yeah. So they had to like snip. Yeah.
Damn.
And I'm glad I got that done before I tried to have sex.
Yeah, because that would suck.
Yeah, I was like 15, and I went to the OBGYN and she cut it for me.
Wow.
But like, imagine if I would have tried to have sex. Like that would have sucked. But yeah, I looked it up and I guess it's like a, you know, some people are just born that way. Yeah, hymens are weird.
Hymens are weird.
Yeah, I also like imagine if that would have happened to somebody when technology wasn't as good, or like healthcare wasn't that easy to find, or there wasn't as much research. Yeah,
how would they know?
I'm glad I had like we found an OBGYN that was like a woman and not.
Yeah.
I don't know. She just knew what to do.
Yeah.
In any case, menstruation. We have 4 phases of menstruation.
Yeah, which I honestly I didn't know there were 4 for some reason. I thought there was 3.
Well, I've seen online, sometimes they say there are 3 and sometimes they say there are 4. So like sometimes they'll like menstruation is part of one of the other phases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's menstruation and follicular phase. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just called the follicular phase, and menstruation includes that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the follicular phase starts on the first day of your period.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
So, like, menstruation is days 1 through 5-ish. And the follicular phase, the follicle grows in preparation for ovulation. And you learned a little bit more about the follicle.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so we all know menstruation is when, you know, your uterus sheds, and then that is your blood that comes out. But the follicular phase, I didn't know much about until researching this, but it lasts 13 to 14 days. So from your first day of your period and then like a week after you stop your period, and it ends when you start ovulating. But basically, the pituitary gland in the brain releases a hormone to stimulate the follicle, which lives on your ovary. You have a few follicles on your ovary at all times, but follicles are normal. They're just like fluid-filled sacs. And once you start ovulating, the follicle that is the most mature, like it gets really big, and then it holds an egg inside, and it gets really big, and then it ruptures. And then the egg goes down your fallopian tube into your uterus. But I always sounded crazy because when I was getting my period, I would be like, I'm ovulating. I can tell. Like, 'cause my ovaries hurt. Like, something on my, like, I could just tell I'm ovulating. And the reason we can tell sometimes is because your follicle literally ruptures.
Yeah.
It just ruptures inside of you, and then your egg gets, you know, sent away. But your follicles mature each month. Only one follicle matures enough to release an egg each month. But during this, too, like at the end of your follicular phase, your uterus lining starts to thicken in preparation for pregnancy.
And that's when we have, like, it's thickening with the substance that the period is, as we said earlier. And then we have ovulation, which we mentioned before. And that's when the follicle bursts open, as you said, and into the luteal.
Bursts open.
It bursts. And into the luteal phase.
Before we go to that, did you know that once an egg is released, it will only survive for 24 hours?
Oh.
So if the sperm reaches the egg during this time, you'll get pregnant.
That's why we need fast swimmers.
Yeah, it's got a 24-hour window. Yeah, you got to get up in there. You got to get done.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just crazy that you can only get pregnant for like 5 days during your cycle, because growing up, I feel like we were always told, like, don't have sex, you'll get pregnant. It's like, actually, there's a 24-hour period, which is insane to me, that you can get pregnant. So we don't learn enough about that, I think, in high school.
Yeah, and I think there are some women that successfully do the family planning method as birth control. Yeah. And they like really track their cycles, and they're able to, just
they
do
just
that.
They just don't like let you shoot up the club while you're ovulating.
Yeah.
And that works.
So we talked about ovulation, and then we have the luteal phase, which is a new quote unquote eggshell developed. You can think of it as like an eggshell develops around the egg, and this is called the corpus luteum. And your body is preparing for pregnancy. So as you said, you kind of talked about this, the uterus wall begins to thicken, and it's preparing for implantation.
Yes.
Of the corpus luteum.
Yes.
And this is days 18 to 28. So these are the final days of your cycle. And then, of course, if no implantation occurs, then we have a period.
And it gives you, it produces progesterone, which will maintain the thickened lining of the uterus.
Oh, okay. Like months, and then like the numbers of the months, and you can like draw a little picture showing like when your period is, and like track like what's happening for each day. And then it's also explaining a little bit about the phases. And I learned in this book that we not only have these biological things that are happening with us, but there's also some kind of hormonal and mental things that are happening energy wise during each phase. So during menstruation, this is kind of considered intuition and like inspiration time. So this is like where maybe you have like some thoughts or ideas that you're analyzing, and like
the thoughts and ideas that I'm analyzing during menstruation is fuck my life.
Yeah, they do say it's a low energy time too. It's a low energy time, but it's like a time for inspiration, apparently. And then we have the follicular phase, which is like you're building up for the egg release, right? So think of that. You're building up for an energy release. So you're building like creatively.
You're building creatively.
You're building creatively. So it's the best time to put your ideas and insights into actions. So like you think like menstruation, this is like where the ideation comes, and then you
release the egg is where you do the action. You take action on those ideas.
Well, follicular phase. Take action. And then ovulation.
That's when you release the egg.
Yeah. So this is when you're like the best communicator, and you can express yourself.
Interesting.
To your community during this time.
Okay.
So like, yeah, I think of like ovulation, like you're releasing your thoughts. And then the luteal phase brings energy back inside. So this is like a time for reflection. Okay. How are you feeling in your body? Do you still feel the same about the goals you set earlier? So it's like menstruation is the kind of like setting the goals. Follicular phase is like building that on that creatively. Ovulation is like discussing it maybe. And then luteal phase is reflection.
Okay, that's cute. Yeah, I like that. That's a cute way to look at your period.
Yeah,
so negatively.
I've also seen it like described as like the seasons of the year. Too. Yeah, there's more to that. That just brushes the surface, but I want to learn more about like how, if we're tracking our cycles, we can decide like when to make big decisions and stuff like that.
What I got from that was there's like no time where we feel normal.
Yeah.
Our bodies are always doing something to prep for pregnancy, and there's hormones flowing, and no wonder like we're crazy.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Quote unquote.
Crazy. I'm crazy. It's fine.
But personally, how has your period journey been throughout life?
Oh,
So you started that
God.
first period and
Started that first period. I ever since I can remember, I had really, really awful, painful periods. Like, my mom would let me stay home from school, and she was a teacher, so that was very...
Did she have a similar experience with her periods?
I don't think so, but my grandma said she did. My mom let me stay home from school, which, you know, was like a big deal. But I literally couldn't do anything. I'd be like writhing in pain. Sometimes I would throw up from my pain.
Damn.
And I would like cry.
Is it even like when you were really young? Like,
yeah, ever since I could remember starting my period, like, it was really bad. And at 16, my mom took me to the gyno, and I ended up going on birth control, even though I hadn't had sex yet or anything.
Yeah.
But I went on birth control to regulate that. And it did help, but it also made me insane. Like, I was like crying all the time, getting mad all the time, like not knowing what was going on with me. Like, why am I so emotional? And finally my best friend was like, do you think it's your birth control? And like, back then we didn't have Google like we do now. Yeah. Like, we did have it, but it wasn't as built out as it is now. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, that would make a lot of sense. So I ended up getting off of that birth control, switching to another one. I was on birth control for a long time, and then I got off of it for a little bit because I'm like, I just don't want to like pump my body full of these synthetic hormones, and I just felt better not being on it. So I got off it for maybe 6 years, and during those 6 years, I had the worst period pains of my life. Like, it would ruin my day, like my whole week. It would ruin my week. I remember
this is happening like once a month.
Yeah, and like going on vacation, like, if you know how your period always starts when you go on vacation, it would ruin my whole time.
Yeah.
And I'd be like sick, throwing up, like trying to take baths, like just in so much pain, crying from the pain. Aww. I don't even cry when I get tattoos.
Yeah.
Like, but I was crying from this pain and like having to call off work all the time. And then I finally had, and I would tell doctors all the time, like, this is not normal. Yeah. I'm telling you right now that I shouldn't be feeling this way every month. It's crazy to feel this way.
Yeah.
And they would be like, oh, yeah, have you tried taking Motrin? It's like, bitch, I tried everything. I'm like high out of my damn mind every month because all I can do is take edibles and like sleep to get any relief. So finally I had a ovarian cyst burst.
Oh.
And that was the most painful feeling I've ever had in my life. Like, I was like, what is this? Is this a miscarriage? Was I pregnant and I didn't know about it? And now I'm having a miscarriage. So I remember it was like...
When was this? Like, how old were you?
It was in 2017.
Oh, okay.
And I was living with Kristen and Mary. Mm-hmm. And I like went to the toilet and sat down and just thought I was having a miscarriage. Because I was like, what else could hurt this bad?
And you were bleeding.
And I wasn't bleeding.
Oh.
No, I wasn't bleeding yet, but I thought I should sit on the toilet just in case. And I almost like woke Mary and Kristen up to take me to the hospital because I was freaking out.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, like, just get through it. And like, it eventually stopped. And then I went to the doctor the next day, and he was like, oh, and I was on like Medi-Cal at the time, so my doctors were really limited. But I went to a man, which I never do.
Yeah.
But he was like, oh, you had like an ovarian cyst burst. Have you ever thought about getting tested for endometriosis? And I was like,
oh, so this man
yes
knew.
This man, all my other doctors were females. And this one man was like, have you ever gotten tested for that? And I was like, no. And that's when it kind of all started. So I was like, oh. And then eventually I did get diagnosed with endometriosis. And he was right, but he was the first person who had ever even said that word to me.
But it had to take it had to take like an ovarian cyst bursting for somebody to be like, oh, this really is a thing.
Mm-hmm. And even after that, like, doctors still didn't really take me seriously. And I finally cried in front of my doctor. I was like, I am so fed up with this. Like, this isn't normal. You're not hearing me. And I finally found a doctor who, you know, did diagnose me with endometriosis and talked to me about my options and took it seriously and stuff, but it took like my whole life to get there.
Insane. I feel like endometriosis, like everybody that I talk to, and it's crazy because it actually is way more common than what they say, because just from like my anecdotal experience, like from my friends, I've had like 2 other people in my life like have a similar story as yours, and it's all into endometriosis.
It's
like
1 in 10 women deal with endometriosis, and it's unfortunately not very studied upon. So a lot of people, unless they specialize in endometriosis or PCOS or any of those types of hormone things, they don't really know a whole lot about it. So that's why it's kind of hard to get diagnosed. And I also feel like female doctors are like, yeah, I have a period too, and it sucks.
Yeah.
So welcome to the club.
Yeah, actually, like, that is one way that, like, it could be better to have a male gynecologist, because he's not going to use his own bias based on his own experience. But, like, I'd also like to have somebody that has a vagina.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But for those of you who don't know what endometriosis is, because I know a lot of people, especially men, if we have any male listeners, a lot of them don't know what this is.
Turn up your volume, man.
Yeah, listen to this shit. So the tissue that gets large in the uterus that we were talking about in that one phase, what is it?
The luteal
phase. It thickens your lining, and it, you know, whatever. And that's inside of the uterus, right? That's normal. But for endometriosis people, it actually migrates and implants outside of the uterus. So that thick tissue doesn't stay inside the uterus.
Where does it go?
It migrates, and it's mainly stays in the pelvic region, but it adheres to other organs, which is why it's so painful, because when you're having your period and your uterus expands while you're having it, it's going to touch that tissue that is on the outside, which is then touching other organs, and then it makes your cramps super, super painful.
Isn't it insane how common this is? Like, wouldn't you think that evolution would, like, weed this one out, like, by this time in history?
You would think so. So that tissue just like gets stuck in your body, and it leaches to whatever organ it can find. So, and then it can grow. Like it sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does, but it can grow. And sometimes in like the most intense things, it like grows up into the body. Like it can get into your lungs and shit.
Oh my God.
But that's like really, really rare.
But this is only during that luteal phase, and then it goes away?
No, so the tissue doesn't go away. I think it's just because you can have pain, like you have endometriosis gives you pain during penetration.
Oh, because like the tissue goes away with your period, but if there's nowhere for it to go, then it stays there.
It just stays there.
Yeah.
So it'll just be on the outside of your uterus chilling, and then if something disrupts anything, like if you're having sex and your organs are getting touched, then it can hurt and give you cramps. It causes inflammation. It can lead to scarring, internal bleeding, constipation. Infertility is another one. And then you can also get like IBS gets affected by it, because if you're having tissue growing outside the uterus, it can affect your colon region. And it also can cause psychological distress, because if you're in that much pain once a month, it can like...
Especially when doctors are gaslighting you.
Yeah. I can say that it ruined my life.
Yeah.
It did.
That sucks. Like the first like 10 years of your adulthood or whatever. Like
Yeah, and like the only real thing that any doctor has told me, like you can get surgeries and stuff to get it zapped away, but it just comes back.
But now you seem to be what's going on now?
Well, now, so I started a progesterone only birth control,
which and progesterone, remind us, because
progesterone is the hormone that causes your uterus lining to thicken. So my body constantly thinks it's pregnant all the time. That's how it tricks itself. Like it thinks I'm pregnant. It thinks that I need that uterus lining all the time.
Yeah.
So it never actually sheds. So I started taking progesterone orally, and then I heard about the Nexplanon insert, or like the arm insert, that you can get, which is also progesterone only. So it was like my oral pill, just in a different way.
Yeah.
And it's good for 3 years. So nice. I got that insert, and I don't have a period anymore. I haven't had one for, I don't even know how long now.
When did you get that?
The Nexplanon I got like 3 months ago.
No, but like when did you take the pill?
Oh, the progesterone only pill. I switched. Well, I was on other birth control pills, but they just weren't working out for me. And I switched to the progesterone only maybe a year and a half ago. And it was working really well. Like I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't have any side effects. And my period stopped completely.
Yeah.
Which is like super ideal for me.
Yeah.
Because it was literally ruining my life.
Like,
it is weird.
Do you feel like, I don't know, like a robot or something?
Kind of like to be honest with you, sometimes there was a time where when I was first experiencing that I didn't feel like a real woman.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like part of my womanhood is not there anymore because I don't bleed every month, and that is like so much into, like, anyone who has a uterus is like that's
a cycle of life or whatever. Yeah.
And now that I don't have it, it's like, oh shit, like I'm not real. But I am. You are, yeah. I've paid my dues, but I don't have a period now, and it's amazing. I don't want to be on birth control, but that was literally, I tried everything else they said. Try not eating meat and dairy. I was vegan for how long? Like 2-3 years. Didn't help. I tried exercising 4 days a week. I had a garage, like I had a gym in my garage. I was exercising all the time. Didn't help. And I was being gaslit by these doctors still, like, you need to lose weight, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. Well, I did it, and it didn't fucking help.
Yeah.
So birth control was the only option, unfortunately. But I'm okay with it. And it took a lot for me to decide to get on it, because I had been on it for so long in the past, and I was like, this is the last thing. Yeah, this is the last thing I want to do. And finally, I was like, I can't take this pain anymore.
Well, now you're also not a hormonal teenager anymore.
Yeah.
So I think like that, I mean, it's a different hormone that completely, but also since you're not a teen anymore, it might affect you different.
Yeah. And, getting pregnant helps with endometriosis because you're not having a period either. So that helps. And then apparently it can come back after that. But I still have symptoms, like random symptoms of it, like painful sex.
Yeah.
Or like I can't have sex like the normal person can, because if I do it too many times, it's too painful for me and it gives me cramps. It can cause fatigue, which, I've been really like fatigued and stuff, but it can cause like gastrointestinal problems, which I have IBS.
Yeah. So
it's still there.
Yeah.
It's just the bad parts are more manageable now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to birth control.
Yeah, thanks birth control. You might die of a blood clot, but your period cramps.
At least you don't have excruciating pain every month.
Yeah. But yeah, I just want to say that endometriosis affects 200 million women worldwide, and approximately 1 in 10 women in the US. So it's there a lot. I'm sure a woman has it, and we just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just know anecdotally that it's common just from like knowing you, and then I have a couple other people in my life that have expressed that like very similar experience where like doctors like gaslighting their whole lives. Gaslighting is like an overused word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like their whole lives, the doctor's like, oh yeah, it's not that
Yeah.
bad. Like or like yeah, use Motrin or whatever. Like the things that they regurgitate to you. I guess I'm lucky in that my periods have never been really bad at all. They've always been like kind of light, and I get cramps, but nothing crazy. They've always been super irregular though, and like sometimes I'll like skip a month. I like constantly have pregnancy scares because I'll like skip a month
like, do
or
you
like
just have a bunch of pregnancy tests like chilling?
I
Because
do.
Yeah.
In my yeah, like sometimes I'll skip a month or like sometimes I'll like bleed for like longer. Like when I was younger, my periods would be like consistently like 7 days. It'd just be like
the
yeah,
full 7.
yeah. Like my friends would be like, yeah, it's like 3 days, and I'm like, when is it ever 3 days? Like it's never
my periods
3 days.
were always 7 days
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Like, always.
Yeah.
I didn't have as much irregular periods as you, it sounds like, but I did when I was younger. But then when I was an adult off birth control, it was like every 28 days. So
well, now I'm starting to like regulate finally.
Oh, that's good.
Like when I was 26, I started taking birth control for the first time because I had a period for like an entire month. It was like low bleeding, but I was just like constantly having discharge, like period, like you know that kind that like you can still wear underwear, but it's not clear. It's period. But anyway,
like spotting,
it was spotting for like that's the word. Like I was like spotting for an entire month or like 2. That's and it wasn't stopping, and I talked to the gynecologist about it, and of course they are like, yeah, birth control will help with that.
They push birth control like
didn't
crazy.
Want to, and they didn't give me other options. So finally, like I think I left that visit, and then finally after like a while of it not ending, I just decided to go ahead and do it. But it made me gain weight. I gained a lot of weight when I was 26. I gained like 30
pounds when I got on birth control. I still have it.
Yeah. I was like always super, super skinny, and now I'm still thin, but I gained a lot of weight.
Yeah, when I first got on birth control, I had to like come to terms with, okay, I'm heavier now, but at least I'm not in pain every month. And that was something I had to really weigh because I was like, fuck, I'm working out all this like all the days and I'm still gaining weight. This is frustrating.
Yeah.
But you know, the bigger picture is I'm not in pain.
Right. And your mental health is going to be better. Yeah, so I did that for a while. I gained a bunch of weight, and then I got off birth control, and then I got back on it. And now I'm off it because I was having like a lot of really bad like emotional outbursts.
Yeah, I remember when you got off of it.
And I think it's helped.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's from that, but I also stopped taking like a mood regulating pill that I was taking, and I don't know. I haven't had birth control in a few months, and my periods, I've been using this journal, and my periods have been like kind of regular.
That's good. I mean, you're in your 30s. Maybe your body's like, oh, I get it.
It took 20 years to like get there.
Oh, I understand what I'm supposed to do.
Literally 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years since I had my first period.
Yeah. I understand what I'm supposed to do now.
This is what you do. Okay.
Yeah. Well.
But yeah, I would like to do more research on like what's going on with our bodies, like hormonally and energy wise. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we can always do a part 2 if we want. There's so much more we can cover. Like, there's different cultures that view periods in different ways, and the history of it, and like just there's a lot. Like even birth control we can go into. So
there is a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I learned a lot about endometriosis because I mean, I knew kind of what it was, but
yeah, I feel like people kind of know what it is, but when you know someone with it, it's like oh shit.
Well, damn.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode. I hope it was interesting to you. We will do another one next week. Next week I'm going to be out of town, but we're going to figure out what's happening with that.
Now it's your
and
turn.
then we'll be regulated like the period.
Yeah.
Does eventually.
We're going to skip a period next month. But yeah, now it's your turn to be out of town.
Yeah.
And I'll be here by myself.
But after that, we're gonna stay.
I am not going anywhere
Me
for
neither.
a really long time.
I'm broke as fuck. So
Yeah.
I can't.
Staying right here.
Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on the social medias.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know by now, or
if you're not following us by now, I really don't know what to tell you. Like,
yeah.
Don't even talk to us.
Yeah. Crawl back into the hole you came from.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
Yeah.
I'm always saying that.
You're always saying that.
Thank you for listening. Love you so much.
Love
Bye.
you.